most JKD and Wing Chun guys do is they use a rear hand trapping, a box out here, right? I do something a little bit different. I want to just get to that first. What I'll do from here is I'll touch with this hand first. So instead of a single tap, it's a double tap. All right, now this is a couple of different things. One is, as Steve and I were discussing, what that'll do is that'll draw him into me a little bit more. Right? Instead of a constant pressure backwards, right, pressing in, what that does is it actually jerks his head slightly forwards. Resist that same body, right? And I'm doing this. It's going to be very difficult for me to do this. If I slightly relax that, right, just for a split second, and then reapply it, right, it's very easy to do. A lot of people will get into a lock, and it doesn't work, so they'll start doing this kind of stuff and distract them, and they'll go, well, that's not going to work, right? If you understand how the nervous system works a little bit more, what happens is, when I relax slightly on pressure, his nervous system goes, then I can reapply. You have to be careful because there's no resistance at that point, and that lock's really going to hurt, right? So if I'm doing this, resist, right? And I relax ever so slightly and reapply it, right? So that's how I like to lock. Well, the same thing works with this trapping concept, right? This little tension. If I trap this, right, and step in, I can move this arm that far, enough to clear that line. Does that make sense? If I double slap this, right, look how much further down. Because what happens is, his nervous system feels this, and it's just, right? It tenses slightly, then relaxes all in a split second, and now this is effortless. Does that make sense how that works? Yeah. Well, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it works, right? So again, if I trap with a single line where there's tension, and there's going to be tension, we're going to be in a fight, right? Pressure on my back. I can move it in clearly. Absolutely I can. There's no question. But if I double tap it, right? Look what it does for me. It draws him forward and it opens up the line and gives me a lot more opportunity. Does that make sense? So from here, from this reference point, I want you to tap with the lead hand. It's almost like this, like playing the drums, right? Right? It's not. It's slap, slap. And then it'll open up a lot of stuff for you that we'll talk about as we go. Right, good. Have some fun. Right, we're not sweeping it back to do this, right? We're slapping it down. Right? So it's here. This is the move, not this. Now there's a couple reasons for this. One, this takes more time, right? Two, I use a pinball effect when I do my strikes. Well, it might be easier to show you on the inside. So he comes in, right, and I'm here. When I push up here and block, this energy bounces into that strike. So it's not a block strike, right? It hits, and I use that to hit the strike. Because I'm not into hitting hard, not through power. I generate power through structure and speed, right? So it's a little different. So a lot of the strikes I hit are open-handed. Right? Some people think they have to. That's great stuff. It's not my thing. I got hands like a little girl. You know what I mean? I actually broke my hand 4 spots hitting a heavy bag a couple years ago. Look at my wrists. I'm going to pop those suckers like nothing, right? And then little tiny, kid wrists, right? So when I come in, this bounces into my strike, right? It's a very whipping kind of an action. So here. So it's not pulling, pushing, or grabbing. It's a tap and a bounce. It will be a lot faster than putting a lot of energy into a hard strike. Again, is there anything wrong with hard strikes? No, it's just a different concept. Right? I don't have anything against anything. The other thing is, he throws the left hand, I could do the same thing. There's a core motion involved. I'll very seldom do this myself, personally, because this is just not a strong weapon for me. It's just not. Now, I have a different perspective, and people either say, yeah, that makes sense, or this guy's insane, right? Most people do let's do a lot on the right, let's do a lot on the left. I try to even it out. I've never been a big believer in that, because as the years that I've been doing on the left is still nowhere near what the right is. It doesn't even come close. So my thing is, I practice with my primary weapons, which is what strong are, right? So if I want to throw the left in there, it's usually a follow-up and a secondary thing. But I would suggest doing right to right, only because if he punches and I move, doesn't matter which foot I have forward at this point, I'm going to end up on the outside of that right punch to be able to make the move. Does that make sense? So I would recommend right to right. Okay. So we've worked the reference point with basic concept. We've worked understand. There's the 2. There's the 3. Always maintain contact for what I want to do next. People forget about that bottom hand through all this, right? You got the 3 down pretty well? Okay, the irritating thing that Sean does is he always blocks with that other hand when I throw that last stroke. So when I go like this, hit, bang, he always does this. All right? Is that not possible that could happen in the real world? Absolutely. This is the third hand. This is the first hand. This is the second hand, which will give you 3 different ways around that. Right? Now all of a sudden, here's the third hand up. Okay? Remember I said we only teach 3 concepts. Push, pull, and flow. This is in my way. Now we decide which concepts we want to use. So if I go hit, hit, hit. Right? How is this any different from where I started? It's not. Right? We keep it simple. So I go hit, 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 bang. Move in again. Right? It's possible you can block. I don't want to see him do this. Hit it! I can't get in there! Right? I'm going to go here, here, bang, shit, got me again. Alright? That's what's going to happen. There's no such thing as a